Hi guys, welcome to the replay. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to be playing with a boutique board and two transfers as we do some layering. And today the transfer that I'm going to use in the background is Dots. It is a distressed transfer. And I'm also going to layer over the top of that the You Are Enough customer special that was going on in the month of January for Couture. I really love this one, so I'm going to be using it over the top of the dots on our 10-inch boutique board. Now the boutique boards have a great finish on them. They are double-sided and they come with holes and hanging twine. You can use ribbon, you can swap it out for whatever you want. I'm going to actually do this one upside down because it's going to be in a stand. I'm not going to be hanging it, so I want my holes to be at the bottom. They'll be covered up by my stand. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my very large polka dot transfer, and I'm just going to peel off part of the backing, leaving part of it still attached. And we're just going to do that, and well, we're going to try to do that. Let's see if it's going to work for me. And we're going to go ahead and position it on the board. I don't necessarily want it to be exactly straight. I'm not going for a straight look on this, and it is a distress transfer, so these dots don't necessarily have full coverage on them, which is really kind of neat. I think it's going to be a great look, but I'm just going to have it like this and down to my work surface a little bit so that it doesn't move around on me. All right, then I'm going to take a variety of colors. I'm going to use our bubblegum pink. Now, we have a new pink. The bubblegum is discontinued, but we have a new pink coming out in February that's called Peony, and it's very close to this pink. I'm also going to use Couture Coral, Candy Apple, and Currant Jam. And these are going to be my background colors. And then I'm going to use Cherry Blossom for my words over the top. We'll do that next. So first things first, I'm going to take my little stir stick and I'm just going to put a few random places of pink on here. Got a little much on that one, so we'll move it around. All right, I'm going to do the same thing with the coral. Now, I don't want to go crazy with the amount that I'm using because we're going to mix the colors and they won't be able to be put back in the jar for future use. So I don't want to get too much on here, but I do want to have coverage. And then I'm going to use some Candy Apple. And I've got my multi-tool for my Currant Jam. See. All right, wipe the excess off and set that aside. Now I'm going to use my fingers and I'm just going to get them slightly wet, just damp. They're not dripping with water. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to start to swirl and move some of this color around. And it's perfectly fine that the colors are mixing. I want that effect. This is going to be like a hot mess technique. It's a little bit different because I am swirling the colors together instead of swirling each one independently. Let's put a little pink there. Get my fingers a little wet again. It's drying on me really quick. We are in a cold snap right now, and with the heat going, it's very warm and dry, and I know that the cold weather actually affects the chalk paste a little bit as well, so I'm just adding a little tiny bit of moisture to my fingers, not to the project itself. Okay, we're going to add just a tiny bit more of the pink. Move that around in a few different spots. So I want all of my dots to be covered. They don't have to be perfect because the distressed look is what I'm going for, but I do want them to have some kind of color on there. So anywhere that I'm seeing holes, I'm just going in and grabbing some of that pink and adding it in. Just super, super easy. Go ahead and get these edge polka dots. Add some color there. Same thing down here towards the bottom. And I'm just looking over, making sure that there's not any blank spaces. I think we're okay. So I am going to give this a quick spritz with water, just really, really lightly. And then I'm going to take my handled squeegee and I'm going to go over the entire thing, scraping up the excess. And I'm just wiping my squeegee off as I go. You can't put this back in the jar because you're mixing the colors. But I do want to take the excess off. Make sure all the excess is off of there. That is it for our polka dots. So let me peel the polka dots up and reveal our color that's left behind. Now you don't want this transfer to fold over on itself. It is large and it can stick to itself quite easily, and you don't want to have it get stuck. So I'm being kind of careful of how I pull it off of here. It helps to have an extra set of hands for these big ones. Today I'm flying solo, so I'm just going to set this aside and grab my heat tool and give this a quick dry. You can use a hair dryer to do this. You can also just let it air dry. You'll notice that the dots won't be shiny. The chalk paste dries in a matte finish, so if it looks shiny, it's still wet. And heat is not required to dry your projects at all. This is just something I do to speed things up. Okay, there we go with that. Now I'm grabbing my You Are Enough transfer, and I'm going to get a towel. This is just a microfiber towel that's clean and dry, and I'm going to go ahead and fuzz this transfer because I don't want it to pull up my polka dots. I don't need to fuzz it for the purpose of the board, but I am fuzzing it for the purpose of not pulling up my Chalkology paste that's already down. Oh goodness, there we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to put this, I'm just eyeballing it. I want it to be somewhat straight and somewhat centered, but it doesn't need to be perfect. We're not going to grab a ruler. We're not going to do any measuring of any kind. And that's part of why I wanted my polka dots in the background to not necessarily be exactly straight as they are on the transfer. I wanted there to be some variation in how they laid down. So I've got my cherry blossom, which is going to show up as almost white. So I'm just going to add that to the design. And I'm going to go rather thick on this one. And I'm going to use my small squeegee to move that paste around and cover all of the silkscreen area. And I'm putting it on rather thick. Normally I would be putting it on and pulling off the excess as I go, but because I'm wanting to cover the color that's underneath in those polka dots, I want to leave a thick layer of paste on the transfer itself. Now there is still excess to go in the jar. Knocking down any lines that show up in the paste because it will dry with those lines present, so I don't want to see any of those kind of lines. Just looking at it in a little bit of light. Okay, one more area where the lines are still showing up. Okay, now we're going to peel this off and reveal our message. Awesome. Set that aside so I can clean it up later. And that is all there is to it. I hope you liked this video. If you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell so that you know when I post new videos. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy crafting.